Arkansas's Blue Lake Bigfoot. William writes RMSO. Hi, I enjoy your videos very much. I love getting to see all the remote places you go to and hope I can visit some of them someday. I actually visited Jarbidge, Nevada a couple of weeks ago, partly because your video from there. Anyway, here's my story. In 1980, I was 21 years old and in college. I had a summer job as a lifeguard at a recreational lake in Arkansas called Blue Lake. It is almost directly across the Mississippi River from Memphis and is an old run of the river. One evening after we closed the swim area and I was off, one of the other lifeguards and I went fishing in the lake. It was June, about 7 p.m., so it was still daylight. We had a bass boat and were using the trolling electric motor to move quietly about 10 yards from the bank, casting and fishing as we moved along. We suddenly heard a crash among the undergrowth trees along the shore and looked up to see the head and shoulders of a dark-skinned, very hairy creature with more or less human-like features looking back at us. We stared at each other for a few seconds before it turned and moved away in the bush. The trees and brush were very thick, and it disappeared very quickly, although we could hear it walking, apparently on 2 feet, for some time after it disappeared. That's the whole story. It couldn't have lasted more than 10 to 15 seconds. I had the impression that we surprised it as it was coming down the water to drink or look for food or whatever. The other lifeguard, now deceased, is my only living witness. I posted the story on BFRO several years ago, ID number 13983. You can look it up for more details. Feel free to use the story however you'd like, and I'd be glad to speak to you about it. Keep up the good work, Rusty. RMSO responds, appreciate hearing from you. Were you able to estimate the height of the creature? Usually the southern Bigfoot or skunk ape reported are shorter than the creature that is up north. William or Rusty continues, only very roughly could I estimate the height. It seemed to be perhaps a little taller than me and my buddy, and I was 6'1", but it was mostly behind the brush and seemed to be somewhat bent over or hunched down. In retrospect, I suspect the creature was leaning down to get a drink and we startled it. So he was quickly trying to hide. We really only saw the head, shoulders, and upper chest. It did seem heavier or thicker than a human through the chest, neck, and shoulders. There have been a couple of other reports from that area, but they are scattered over many years. I have come to believe that Sasquatch are only transient in that part of Arkansas, which actually a part of the lower Mississippi Delta. I don't think they live there long term, as there is probably not adequate food supply to sustain an entire population. My theory is that they use the cover that exists along either side of the Mississippi River to travel north-south, particularly on the Arkansas side of the river. There is a half-mile wide stretch of broken forest and fields that are not levee protected and extend up and down the river most of the length of the Arkansas and Louisiana. This area floods almost every spring as the river rises. There are almost no houses, businesses there as a result, and very few people go there, only a handful of hunters and fishermen. So it's relatively isolated from humans, and therefore a relatively safe way for them to travel undetected. I enjoy seeing your videos. Let me know if you ever have a chance to visit New Orleans, and we'll meet up for a drink. Take care, Rusty. Okay, I went ahead and looked at the BFRO report, and the only thing that can be added from that report that he gave us permission to use is the follow-up investigation by BFRO investigator Tony Gerard. He states, I spoke with the witness by phone. He is currently practicing to be a surgeon. He describes the creature's hair as dark brown, almost black, and perhaps 4 to 5 centimeters long. It was clearly hairy. He had no real view of the hands or the feet. The creature's eyes he remembers as proportional to the face, not overly large or small. The mouth he remembers as more or less like a human's. He did not have any specific recollection of the appearance of the nose. The second witness is now deceased. I would like to show you a suspect Bigfoot track found recently a couple of states southeast of this incident. Seifer writes RMSO. I was walking the pups down behind the house. We live in a deep piney woods outside Marietta, Georgia. Lots of deer and coyote tracks. And this one, which was part of a trackway that went into the woods, into the swampy area. The mud is squished up between what looks like toes to me. Maybe a baby Sasquatch or a Georgia Woodbooger. Trackway had 5 or 6 tracks going into the swamp, 8 inches by 5 across, and whatever made them was moving fast. Thought I'd send it to you to see what you think. Thanks. Y'all get great work. Okay, well, that's a look at the southeast woodburger, Bigfoot, swamp ape, whatever you guys want to call it that live in the southeast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.